What is the antidote to broke leads? And that's exactly what we're going to be talking in this video, because I'm going to red pill your ass so that you never experience unqualified leads coming into your business. It's only one thing that you can do. You're going to learn it in this video. You could apply it today. And if you master this one thing, it is going to remove all of your problems. And I know what you're thinking as well. How can just one single thing get rid of all my problems when it comes to attracting broke leads? I've helped coaching and info product businesses scale to $100K a month. I've scaled my own agency back in the day to $700,000 a month, as well as everybody inside my incubator. Once we change this one thing for them, it unlocks their scaling capabilities. It is the difference between fighting your way all the way from 20K to 100K a month business, feeling like that you have a metal spoon and every time you come up against a wall within your business, you're scraping at that wall to get through it, versus making scaling frictionless. Like you are just gliding on butter. And what that is positioning. I'm going to be showing you exactly how you can position yourself in the market to make everything easier. And I know what you're thinking as well. Brett, my position's all about targeting wealthy people and my niche and calling out the right individuals and niching down. Most people do not understand positioning on this level, and they give you the most basic concepts of positioning. They tell you basic things like what everybody else is doing to call out some sort of rich lead that's going to come in. But really, positioning is how you occupy a specific ownable place in somebody's mind so that when they think of a problem that needs to be solved, your name or your brand is the first thing that comes up. Really, it's what makes you stand out in the market. You have, low-level people here. You have okay, decent people, competitors. You have some people here, but really you want to be here, looking different inside the market. And I also know what you're thinking, but Brett, my niche, trying to position myself in my niche, everybody's still broke within my niche. Like, it doesn't matter. I can't call out people with money. Well, if you stick to the end of this video, I'm going to be showing you the scientific way of flipping unqualified leads that have no money into rich leads that are begging to buy without calling out C-suite roles, entrepreneurs, or people with money in any of the ads or content that you make. And I'm also going to be showing you how I discovered my positioning through the frameworks that I'm going to be talking about in this video that allowed me to land 5 high quality clients at 100% close rate with only 1,000 followers on Instagram, adding an extra $30,000 to my revenue this month. This whole process I'm giving you is like how I figured this out for myself. And by the way, I'm in the most saturated niche there ever can be, which is coaching other coaches. So this stuff works. I'm going to be going over all that stuff, so stick to the end. But I want to talk about first why it is so important to position yourself correctly within the market. One, what you're really ultimately doing is it filters in the right people and filters out the wrong people. Number 2, it allows you to charge a higher price, when we're talking about this a lot. And number 3, it just removes any competition. And what this is all gearing up to do really ultimately is make you a micro authority. And if you're asking yourself, like, nobody's watching my content, nobody is following me, nobody's responding in my DMs, and nobody buys, it's ultimately because you're not an authority. And authority doesn't come by giving away the best information. And it doesn't come by telling people how to fix their problem. And it doesn't come by even having like good branding, good design that's supposed to make you stick out. It ultimately comes by being a market leader. The reason why people purchase from authorities is really because of authority bias. Humans are wired to trust and follow perceived experts. This goes back to survival instincts and everything, and people want to invest into a leader. It's also the halo effect, right? If someone perceives you as a credible in one arena, credible in the way that you position yourself. And by the way, this is like the hardest thing to teach. It comes up all the time, and I thought I'd put a system to it. So if you don't get it off of this video here, go back, rewatch it a couple of times, and you'll understand why having good positioning is so important. You're becoming a leader. You're becoming very credible in one area and one thing that you figure out. Once that happens, the brain automatically assumes like you're credible across all the boards. And that means, it's just a trickle down effect of building trust into you, your offer, your prices, your process, and even like the character that you are online. Okay. So really your positioning is what makes you a micro authority. And also it's extremely important today because we're in sophisticated markets. I don't know if you've ever seen this graph here, but this is taken from one of the best advertisers in the whole entire world, which is Eugene Schwartz, and talks about it in his book, Breakthrough Advertising. Within it, he talks about the levels of sophistication in the market. And this is perfectly explaining where the coaching and online info space is at right now. We are at a level 4 or a level 5 in sophistication. And all this really means is the more that your buyer understands the marketing tactics, everybody, all your other competitors, like knows that there's a bunch of competitors. They understand the sales process. They understand what you're trying to do to get them as a client. And there's a bunch of people trying to do this exact same thing. The more skeptic your buyer becomes. And really at level 4s and level 5s, mechanisms no longer really work, or you need to have an upgraded mechanism. And ultimately, you can kind of pinpoint this to being a lack of belief in the market. Everybody is saying the same thing as you. They're preaching the same words. And this is why like the generic coaching advice, like, oh, copy somebody else's messaging, copy their bio and their statement inside of their bio that says who they target and how they help them. And that's going to help you out as well. No, like doing that is just feeding into the problem. It's just making the prospects more sophisticated with what's going on, which is leading to a lack of belief. They no longer believe in offers. They no longer believe that any of these coaches can help them receive a transformation. So they're becoming extremely sophisticated and skeptical because of that. So ultimately, sophisticated markets kill broad claims, generic problems, hype and bold statements, surface level pain points. You might be saying these things as well. Overused frameworks, credential-led positioning, like, testimonials, like everybody has testimonials today. Urgency and scarcity tactics, one-size-fits-all messaging, the same origin story that everybody else tells, and price-based differentiation. So sophisticated, there's a lack of belief. So positioning is the antidote to the level of sophistication of our marketing. And I'm sure if you're new and watching this right now, and you're just getting into coaching, you might not understand this, but if you've been in the coaching space for a little bit, I'm sure you're seeing people that are actually crushing it because they know how to market in sophisticated markets. And we're seeing a lot of identity-based positioning. This is one way to build that trust. Like we're seeing the Asian fitness coach that scales to a certain seems to be crushing it online. We're seeing a mom workout coach, a Christian men coach, like they specifically target Christian men. These are all ways to begin to make yourself unique within the market, and it's identity-based positioning. But it's important to understand why this is working. If you don't understand why identity-based positioning works so well, then you can just, attach yourself to identity, but you won't understand like how to actually make it work for yourself. So identity-based positioning, ultimately, so there's a lack of trust in the market because it's so sophisticated, and this builds trust. It starts to build belief again. Because if you understand Alex Hormozi's value equation, right now there's a lack of belief that a standard coach who targets just anybody can get them to a specific destination. All you're trying to do to build value, which in the sense to get somebody to invest, is build up the dream outcome and the likelihood of perceiving that. And with coaching, of course, you want to try to minimize the time delay and the effort and sacrifice, but that always can't, like let's say you're a fitness coach, like you can't always do that. But it's really about upping this here, the perceived likelihood of achievement. So if we take a dating coach, for example, this dating coach has 4 million followers. They're an authority, and they have a pathway to help somebody get to the transformation, which is more dates, potentially finding a loved one. But this guy targets just anybody and everybody. But he's an authority, and he can sell off of just being an authority alone. How would you enter that market? How would you compete with this individual? You wouldn't say the same things as him. You wouldn't try to have the same offer as him, because nobody's going to believe you. They're going to believe the 4 million follower coach because he's done before, he has the testimonies, he has the proof, he has the authority. So the perceived likelihood of achievement of going with this guy is very high, and that's why people still invest into him. But you can't do that. You can't break through a market like that because you're competing with him. Competition isn't good. So what are we seeing right now? We're seeing identity-based positioning. And the reason why identity-based positioning works, the reason why people begin to trust in this a lot more, is because let's say this guy is an Asian dating coach. He then develops a specific pathway to get to the destination. And this specific pathway, the perceived likelihood of achievement with this pathway is going to be seen as much higher towards Asian men, because this guy developed out, here's all the right haircuts for Asian men. Here's all the cultural differences and norms you need to jump through in order to put yourself in the dating market. Here's how you should dress as an Asian man. These are the things that typically look good. Here's how to land a white chick as an Asian man, right? Here's what you got to do. He develops out a very specific pathway that makes it for the Asian person to see it as achieving the result more likely. So he invests more money. So 9 out of 10 times, the Asian man is going to go with the Asian fitness or the Asian dating coach, not because he has a ton of followers, not because he's the biggest authority in the whole dating market. It's because he positioned himself well, and he created an offer that has the perceived likelihood of achievement, so people find value in it. Okay, so this is ultimately an antidote. But still, okay, you're probably thinking, Brett, I'm a white guy, or everybody's doing identity-based positioning now, and you're absolutely correct. I think going further, just even having identity-based positioning isn't even going to be enough. So I'm going to tell you how me, as a white guy who just sits in my apartment all day, how I discovered my positioning to stand out in one of the most sophisticated markets, which is coaching coaches. And by the way, guys, these are these things like the market sophistication and understanding that, and a couple things I'm going to be talking about. I'm just giving you tools there to help you to think and define your marketing, your positioning within your market. However, there's no like one size fits all. Like one tool might work for you and another tool might work for somebody else and not work for you. Because ultimately there is no formula that you can ever design around positioning. You can design tools, if you get what I'm saying, because a formula is all designed to create a repeatable process. But if you understand positioning, you know that goes against the laws of positioning and how to do good positioning. Because really, ultimately, good positioning at the end of the day is what makes you unique. And if a formula that creates a repeatable process makes a repeatable thing, then it's not unique, right? So these are all tools, the ways to get you to think about positioning. By the end of this video, you should understand exactly how to do it, or like what truly makes you unique. So another way to think about positioning is finding your gap within the market. I'm going to give you examples here in a second, but you're finding unoccupied problems, angles, or conversations within the market that everyone else is overlooking, and planting your flag there first will begin to make you an authority. So to give you an example on this, we have a bunch of people on the left here who are all your technically competitors. We'll just use fitness coaches, all trying to market to the same person. We'll use busy dads. And then we have all of the credible authorities who already own the market space. They planted their flag first. And so they are the authority. They are the presence. They're probably the ones who already have 100K, 200K, 500K a month business. And they're using hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to put themselves in front of the right person, busy dads. And their pixels are conditioned that way. They're just spending a lot of money to get that attention, and it's impossible for these people to compete with this market. So what you have to do is find a gap within the fitness space as a whole that nobody is talking about, that nobody is solving. And we've seen recent gaps, and this is an example, like can work for any niche or market you're in. But for the fitness space in particular, and I love teaching through this lens because fitness is like the standard in the coaching space, finding a gap, we've seen people do this with like hormones. Like, let's focus on hormones. This is the problem. And these people weren't necessarily talking about it. And then the people that planted their flag first, talking about hormones and optimizing that, all of a sudden became a micro authority in their space. They found a gap that nobody was talking about, nobody was solving in terms of the problem, or at least they weren't articulating it well enough. So other examples of this, and this is why it's so important how easy it can be once you figure this out for you to scale, is people like Shelby Sapp here. Great example. She found a gap within her market. She noticed that a lot of people were trying to help individuals in sales or get people into online sales, and they all happened to be guys. Okay. And she noticed that like there's big players in this space, and obviously she's not going to compete with them. So she had the idea of bringing online sales to women because nobody was talking about it towards women. Nobody was filling that gap. And there's a bunch of different other factors of why she was able to scale so well, but that was the main driver. She became the authority within her niche. Jack Hopkins, another really good example here. You guys, if you guys know of him now, but in his early days, he actually became, or his name was the CEO of testosterone. That was what he used to go by. And that is how he first got himself into the market and scaled all the way up to an authority where now he's going a lot broader. He recognized that there was a gap in the fitness space. There's people here trying to copy all the other authorities who are owning the market. And he realized nobody was talking about this one burning problem, which was testosterone. So he planted his flag there, and he became one of the first people to talk about it, and people started to gravitate towards him because of it. And that's initially how he got his traction. Now that he became an authority, he expanded his messaging, and now he just talks about just being I don't even know what he talks. I haven't watched him a little bit, but he just talks about, I would assume, being masculine, right? Like he now is an authority and he can just sell off with authority alone. But he found a gap within the market. He positioned himself within this gap. So that's why it's so important. And so thinking about it in this way will get your brain going. And you can think about what is a gap that nobody else is hitting on that I can lean into. And this brings me into the exact process that I used to find my positioning that's allowed me to get 5 high quality clients, like very high quality people that are gonna easily scale to 50K to 100K a month. And I was able to do so at 100% close rate with only 1,000 followers, adding an extra $30,000 in revenue to my business this month in the most sophisticated, the most saturated space in the entire online coaching and info space. So how was I able to do this? So I developed out a tool to help you figure out how to position yourself. And great positioning is the intersection between who you're targeting, your unique mechanism, and your unfair advantage. So the first one, the unique mechanism, I'm going to talk about this more in just a second over here, but it goes back to that principle that I was explaining in the beginning of this video. If you have a unique mechanism, a pathway, a journey to get somebody towards a destination that's easier, faster, and better, then people are going to start to believe in it, and the perceived value of it goes up, and you're different within the market. And by the way, if you just figure out 2 of these, you've nailed down positioning, and everything's going to be so much easier for you. So unique mechanisms, your journey, how you bring people towards the destination is very important. And in sophisticated markets, that is another thing that works. Okay. People know all the outcomes that everybody else is promising, but now because of that, they don't believe in the outcomes that everybody's promising. They don't know who to believe into, what to believe into in somebody's journey. But if you are able to craft a great journey that is different, that is perceived to be better, faster, and more guaranteed, then people are going to start to believe in it. So mechanisms become really, really, really important. Ultimately, it's how are you different? How's your journey different? And you need to market a journey in a sophisticated market. So by the way, my unique mechanism is belief marketing. All of the stuff that I'm talking about here, if I can get you to believe in, hey, just fix up your messaging, get people to believe in your offers, this overcomes all the market sophistication, every problem that you're having within this space. So that is my unique mechanism. I have specific tools, journeys, and processes that I've developed out for you to go through in order to achieve the belief system that you need to create to make others just believe in your message, your marketing, your offer, and it makes the sale so much easier. Okay, the next one is unfair advantage. And I thought I didn't have any unfair advantage. Like, I'm just a white guy sitting in my apartment. I have a normal life. I don't do anything crazy. I don't want a penthouse. I don't even want a fancy car right now. I just really geek out on this stuff. And I barely go outside my apartment. I go outside my apartment, but I really just don't think there was anything unique about me. I'm like, what is my unfair advantage? There's nothing unique about Brett here. And that's when I just used one of what I thought used to be my disadvantage and turned it into an advantage. I just looked at what is me? What makes up Brett? What's going on right now? And that was that I'm just this dude in my apartment who has a fiance who is about to be building a family here very soon, and I'm building a business at the same time. That's my unfair advantage. Only I can speak on that. Only Brett can speak on having a fiance and building a family and building a business at the same time. What are my unique experiences towards that? So that was my unfair advantage. And now I'm targeting people, and you're probably one of them, that is maybe a little bit older, 25 to 32, and you have obligations like a family, a small family, or a significant other. You can't be going out, flying to Bali, going to Miami, recording yourself with a camera, going to all these live events to record it and showcase the outcome. You can't do outcome marketing. That's who I'm targeting. And that's also like just me at the end of the day. So that's my unfair advantage. Ways that you can pull out your unfair advantage is your identity. And we talked about that. Your story. I'm working with people who have really great stories that they can use to leverage as their unfair advantage. Sometimes this comes out through your personality. Depends who you are. If you have a great personality, you want to lean into this stuff. You want to lean into your identity. You want to lean into your story. You want to lean into your personality. It's who you naturally attract at the end of the day. I've noticed that I've always just naturally attracted older individuals throughout my entire life. I think it stems from me playing baseball and being on the older teams because I was really good at baseball. So yeah, I just naturally attract older individuals. So I'm leaning into that. It's also turning disadvantages that you might think like, oh, I don't have this. I don't have a crazy lifestyle, or I'm not this type of person. Turn those disadvantages into advantages like I did. Like I used to think it was a disadvantage that I couldn't travel and do all this cool stuff. And I realized, A, that's not me, but B, that's actually an advantage. How do you build a business when doing all that stuff like just doesn't even matter? Like, right? So these are the ways to figure out your unfair advantage. Now, lastly, the who you're targeting. So this is kind of blended. Like I said, if you could find out just two of these, you're killing it. Like, you don't need all three. You could figure out who you're targeting a little bit through your unfair advantage, but also you can figure out who you're targeting through this right here, which is knowing your perfect client avatar. And that is the intersection, like your perfect client and who you should just be speaking to all the time, is the intersection between the person that you got the best results for, the person that paid the most. Like, we can all, if you've been in this space for a little bit and are selling people, we can all think of like that one client that just put money down right away and had no problem. They just piffed, right? So that is really important. And then who you love working with. Who's the person that you just enjoy talking to, who would be your friend at the end of the day. Once you discover this, then you know your perfect client. And that feeds into what makes up great positioning. Because when you know your perfect client, you can develop out a great mechanism, a great pathway for them, and you can start to lean into your unfair advantages. So think of this more as like a flywheel here. The more that you figure out one of them, the easier it is to develop out all three of them. Okay. So that is exactly how I discovered my positioning within the market, which is ultimately targeting people that want a biz max and family max at the same time. Okay. The last thing to talk about here, which is you're thinking, all right, Brett, this is all great. Still, the people that I'm targeting, just my offer and who it's for, at the end of the day, the people in my market are broke. And so I'm going to be showing you the scientific way to flip unqualified leads with no money into being rich leads that are going to be begging you to buy their offer without having you change. Like we hear this all the time, like you probably heard it from other coaches. Just call out people with more money, call out people in C-suite roles or entrepreneurs because they have money, they invest in themselves without having to do that. Because when you begin to do this, you're just doing what everybody else is doing. So I want to bring you through this here. Like, how many people do you think are actually rich in America or whatever country that you are in? In America specifically, it's only 20% of people are making above six figures. And of those people, how many of them are on Instagram? And of those people, how many of them are actually, they're making six figures, but are they saving that money? Do they actually have that money in the bank account and they can put $7,000 towards your program? When you do the math, it actually becomes very small. Like, how many of those people are even watching you at the end of the day? So it's not about always attracting a rich lead and calling them out. Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a man who makes six figures? Are you in this type of job role? It's about making leads resourceful. And it goes back to this idea of making your offer look like the Ferrari. But the problem with this, like you've probably heard that from Alex Hormozy, if you can get your offer to be seen as the $15,000 Ferrari, people are going to find the money to invest. Now, the issue with that is people are making $15,000 Ferrari type offers, right? And everybody is trying to outclaim each other. It goes back to this idea that there's a lack of belief because the market's so sophisticated. When everybody is putting their $15,000 Ferrari out in the market, people are becoming very skeptical of like, okay, is this even worth $15,000? Because literally 1,000 other dealerships are doing the exact same thing. And so they're very skeptical about going and believing in this $15,000 Ferrari, aka your offer. So what you need to do here is sell the belief in the opportunity and journey. And leads start to get resourceful. Because at the end of the day, if you get this person here, a prospect who has no money, if you get them to fully believe that the only way to get towards where they want to be, let's just use a $1 million a year entrepreneur. If you get them to believe that your offer is the only way to achieve that, like if they, without your offer, without investing into you, they're never going to be at $1 million a year entrepreneur, then the logical next step for them becomes to want to invest into your offer, and they start to get resourceful and find the money. So it's about crafting a message that gets them to see the value in your offer, that gets them to build the belief that this is the right pathway, that this is the only pathway. And if they don't do it, they're not hitting this and they have to find the money. When you do this specifically, you know how to do it, and I talk about it in a lot of other videos, you start getting prospects who come to your call and go, I don't have the money, but I'm willing to take out a loan. I'm willing to put it on a credit card. I'm willing to get resourceful, maybe sell some crypto, sell some stocks, and use that for this because my problem is bleeding and I want to see this transformation, and your pathway is the only way to do so. So belief becomes very, very important. And we've all had, if you've been selling for a while in this space, we've all had that person that comes to the call and they're just so about it. They're like, I have this problem, but I don't have the money. I'm going to do whatever I can to find it. And they end up going out and finding it, and they pay you. And they're just so about it. It's because they fully believed without you and without your offer that they couldn't get to the transformation. So they got resourceful. And building a message that does this is the way to turn, so to speak, unqualified leads into qualified leads that actually want to invest. So if you want to know how to do more of this, if you want to know how to do any of this, really, like, you need help defining your positioning, because that's the one thing that we work on that scales, that helps out a lot of people that come inside my incubator. As soon as we crack this code, a lot of things just get much easier for them. It's figuring this out and then just putting in good systems to, like, ads and good content strategy that makes it easy for them to start to define their gap within the market. If you want to figure out any of this, just go ahead, book a call below. No pressure. We'll just talk about how we can help you, ask each other some questions. And if you want help defining this belief system, this belief messaging, book that call below as well. And that's another thing that we talk about a lot. But also have other free videos on it. Check out my YouTube channel. With that, hopefully you understand positioning and why it's so important, and a little bit of how to develop it yourself. So I'll end the video here and see you in the next one. Peace.